All right, earlier today we we heard Hillary Clinton giving a speech trumpeting her economic agenda while criticizing Donald Trump's perceived lack of policies. Watch.
I don't think Mr. Trump understands any of it. He hasn't offered any credible solutions for the very real economic challenges we face.
So let's just throw a wad of more government at it and see what happens. So how does Hillary's plan stack up against the Donald's? Let's break it all down with Brian Brenberg. He's an associate professor of economics at the King's College here in New York City. Bryanomics 101. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You've been summering in Minnesota, and now you are free of the 10,000 lakes, ready to dive back into these weighty issues.
Well, that's great. Great metaphors.
All right, so let's talk about raising taxes on the highest earners, because that's what Hillary Clinton wants to do. What does that do to the economy?
Well, you know, it's always this idea that if you raise taxes on the wealthy, there's no effect at all, right? They're just going, oh, gosh, yeah, please have my money, right? It's not going to change my investment patterns. It's this idea that you kind of get a free lunch with that. Absolutely not true. She combines these high taxes on the wealthy with massive new regulations all across the economy. You said it in the intro. It's like she wants to put government right at the center of the economy and just, I've got a government solution for every. Child care, I've got it. Education, I've got it. Finance, I've got it. Energy, I've got it. They're all government solutions.
On her queenly throne, just bestowing packages and handouts to everyone, but we can't handle any more deficit spending, can we?
Well, the problem is, she says on the one hand, I've got a regulation or a policy to solve every problem in the economy, but she says on the other hand, oh, and by the way, we're going to cut red tape for entrepreneurs.
What does that even mean? Does she understand
well, the entrepreneur
concept?
is sitting in the corner tied up in red tape right now saying, what do you mean? You're talking about all these regulations and you're going to free me to grow the economy?
Yeah.
There's no way that's going to happen. So there's total intellectual inconsistency going on in what she's talking about here. And as a result, you're not going to get any economic growth. And that's exactly what the economy needs. If you want to put people back to work, if you want wages to rise, nothing else will work if you do not grow the economy.
Exactly right. And you can grow the economy. You cannot if you've got so many taxes, if you've got so much spending and so much regulation. My worry is that both of our presidential candidates from the major parties don't understand that. There's so much new spending going around for both of them.
Well, you do see that on this infrastructure spending. Clinton's talking about $275 billion in new infrastructure spending. Trump says, I want to double that. Okay? He's got the biggest problem already when it comes to deficits and debt. We're talking about $2.5 trillion in new deficits potentially with his tax cut plan. So both of them are talking about sort of an unrealistic plan and really kind of a pie-in-the-sky plan. Infrastructure spending, okay, that's great. We need roads, we need bridges, but you need those roads and bridges to carry people and ideas and products, and that only happens when you have entrepreneurship. Clinton's plan is really an entrepreneurship-killing plan, and that's kind of the big issue with what she's talking about.
And that's one thing they can't do. You know, you've got way too much spending, and you cannot lower taxes and increase spending. What happens to the economy when you do that?
I mean, you've got long-term problems here. And Trump is betting that voters at the end of the day are going to care more about short-term job growth than they are about long-term debt. But the long-term debt issue is a problem. By 2026, we're going to spend more on interest on the national debt than national defense. People care about that. We need both.
People don't care enough about that, and that's what freaks me out, is they don't care about debt service. And that looming debt service is going to come up and bite us in the keister, because that, as you said, is going to take up so much of the general budget. You've got two people. They're not talking about cutting military spending. They're definitely not talking about cutting entitlement spending. They're both talking about growing entitlements. She's talking about free college. How are we going to service $19 trillion in debt?
It's not going to be 19. It's going to be $29 trillion in debt. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people understand the trade-offs. You can tell them the debt's going to go up, and they'll say, oh, that sounds bad, but I want a job today. No, let me tell you what that means. Let me tell you how much less money you're going to make. Let me tell you what things we're going to have to sacrifice that are valuable that we're spending money on today to do that. So I don't think people understand the trade-offs, and as a result, the message doesn't resonate. We need it to resonate because we're talking about fundamentally irresponsible plans.
No, we're on a high-speed train to Austerityville.
Austerityville is not a fun place.
It's not bueno at all. Brian Brenberg, welcome back.
Good to see you.
Can't wait to see you more and more, and so many more things to dive into. Thanks, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Very good.